Hi guys, Action 007 Cinema here. Warning, spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to recap one of the best action movies released in 2014, called Kingsman: The Secret Service. The movie tells the story of a spy organization recruiting a promising street kid into the agency's training program while a global threat emerges from a tech genius. How did it happen? What will he do next? Let's find out. The story begins in a wilderness in the Middle East where a helicopter takes in some elite troops and then shoots at their enemies in a large castle. Inside the castle, there is a prisoner who is being interrogated by 4 elite troops to provide them with important information. Sadly, one of them has to die there. One of the elite troops who survived is named Harry. He visits the family of his friend who has died in the mission and gives the medal to his friend's son named Eggsy. 17 years later, in a place in Argentina, a professor is held hostage in a cabin by some criminal. Suddenly, someone knocks on the cabin door. One of the doormen gets shot and killed by someone who turns out to be Harry's friend named Merlin, who is on his mission to save the professor. But unfortunately, he has to die in the hands of a knife-legged woman, Valentine's personal assistant. Valentine is the boss of those criminals who died earlier. He tries to persuade the professor to cooperate with him. The scene returns to Harry visiting a sewing place named Kingsman, led by an old man named Arthur. He asks the members to recruit new members as a replacement for Harry's friend who has died and is finally taken over by Harry for him to handle. This is teenager Eggsy. He is being asked by his mother, who is with his stepfather, to buy diapers for his sister. Eggsy calms his little sister by sticking a pacifier into her mouth and tells this to his friends in a coffee shop, but accidentally one of his friends points at the face of another man and causes things that should not happen. The men are henchmen of Eggsy's stepfather and cannot tolerate the incident, so Eggsy and his friends relent and leave the coffee shop. Surprisingly, Eggsy has stolen the car keys of one of the men and begins driving it with his friends, but he has to stop because a cat is almost hit by the car. Eggsy asks his friends to leave and confronts the police who are chasing him alone. He is interrogated there to reveal the names of his friends, but he refuses to tell him and puts himself in danger of being jailed for 18 months. Then he takes out the medal given by Harry and calls the number, which has been mentioned as an incorrect number by the operator, but he remembers to say the password that Harry has told to him. Not long after that, Eggsy is released from there and Harry is waiting for him to talk in the same coffee shop. Harry tells about his gratitude to Eggsy's father who has sacrificed his life to save his life. But suddenly the henchmen of Eggsy's stepfather enter the coffee shop and they want to make a deal with him. One of the men mocks him and then Harry beats them all. After he has finished beating them, he drinks his drink and forces Eggsy not to talk about the incident to anyone. Arriving home, Eggsy is immediately beaten by his stepfather because his henchman has been killed. It turns out that Harry has attached a tracker to keep an eye on Eggsy's movements and speaks through it to report his stepfather to the authorities if he does not release Eggsy. He also orders Eggsy to meet him at a sewing shop. Arriving there, Harry immediately invites him to join the Kingsman's secret agent and enters a capsule in the White House. Eggsy is taken into a room by Merlin where there are already several people in there. Roxy invites to get acquainted. She is one of the candidates submitted by another agent. At night, the participants are awakened to the condition of their rooms filled with water and almost drowns them, each of them thinking of a way to survive. Eggsy tries to open the door of the room and realizes that it is locked, and he also realizes that the glass is a 2-sided glass, and he tries to break it to save all of the participants. Meanwhile, Harry attempts to meet the professor and looks for information about the criminal who has killed his friend, but suddenly, the head of the professor explodes right in front of his face. 2 men immediately chase him and blow up the place. It turns out that on the professor's neck has been installed a chip, which will explode if the person is in danger, and is implanted by Valentine, who is trying to find out the organization that is targeting him. Harry wakes up from his coma and meets Eggsy. He participates in observing the case that is being handled by Harry about the chip that has exploded the professor's head. Merlin arranges for Harry to meet Valentine in person at a dinner. The next day, the participants return to the test to jump from the plane and have to avoid radar and land safely on a target. While they are all up in the air, Merlin informs them that one of the participants doesn't get a parachute. Eggsy tells them to pair up with each other in order to save participants who do not have parachutes. Finally, the participants who manage to pass the test this time are Roxy, Charlie, and Eggsy, and just found out that all participants had parachutes. In another place, Harry goes to the Valentine's residence to attend the dinner. Because Harry has donated to the Valentine Foundation in large numbers, Valentine cancels his public dinner and replaces it with a private dinner with him. It seems that he realizes that Harry is a secret agent of the Kingsmen, so he mixes nano-trackers in his previous drinks. After returning from there, Harry reports at where he got a location about a church in Kentucky that has long been a target of the FBI. Back to the agent training, Merlin gives them a new mission to do. After arriving at the location, each of them begins trying to get the attention of their target, but unfortunately, they are all trapped and end up tied up on a railway track. This is a test of loyalty from the Kingsmen that the participants are forced to tell about the Kingsmen organization to someone who interrogates them. Eggsy and Roxy manage to pass, but Charlie has to fail the test this time. On the other hand, Valentine begins to activate all of his products that have been distributed around the world. Harry and Eggsy go to the Kingsman's sewing house and meet Valentine, who seems to have already found out who Harry really is. He recommends a high hat at a hat shop, and Valentine follows his advice to buy the hat, which has been fitted with a tracker by him. A few days later, Eggsy is called to a room and suddenly is given a gun and tells him to shoot his dog, but he fails this test, while Roxy manages to pass and is appointed as a member of Kingsmen. He returns to his home with the dog and meets his mother with bruises on her face. Eggsy, who knows that it is caused by his stepfather, immediately comes to his place, but Harry immediately takes over the taxi used by Eggsy to be directed to his residence. Suddenly, Harry gets a call from Merlin informing him that Valentine will be testing his product at a church in Kentucky. He rushes away to thwart the plan and asks Eggsy to wait. Valentine, who knows that Harry is in the church, immediately activates his tech on the congregation inside the church, and suddenly Harry shoots and kills the people in the church. He just realizes that he has been exposed to radiation from the chip, but when he comes out of the church after he has slaughtered almost the entire congregation, there is Valentine waiting for him and shoots Harry in his head. Eggsy and Merlin, who see the incident through Harry's glasses, scream hysterically and try to find a way to clean up Valentine. Eggsy decides to meet Arthur and finds a weird thing under his ear. He suspects that and exchanges the glass that they will use, and after drinking it, it is true that they are in Valentine's trap. He tries to kill Eggsy by mixing poison in his drink, but it fails. After he dies, Eggsy takes the chips from his body and reports it to Merlin and Roxy. They go to the Kingsman's plane to destroy one of Valentine's satellites using the atmospheric trans prototype tool from the Star Wars project. Merlin assigns Roxy on this mission, and Eggsy accompanies Merlin. It turns out that another function of the implanted chip is that the person is not exposed to the radiation effects of the bulk SIM card chip produced by Valentine. But the implanted chip is a double-edged knife, which on the other hand can blow the head of the person who has it. Merlin tells Eggsy to go inside Valentine's place and pretend to be Arthur using an invitation on Arthur's previous phone. Merlin monitors Roxy that is almost ready to launch a missile, but suddenly one of the hot air balloons she uses explodes. Luckily, she managed to shoot the satellite. Unfortunately, another hot air balloon explodes and makes her fall. Unexpectedly, Eggsy meets Charlie. Eggsy's disguise is uncovered, and he escapes from there guided by Merlin from the plane. And finally, the mass activation of the chip is successfully thwarted, and Valentine has to restart his satellite. Eggsy, who has just arrived on the plane, is ordered to return there because Valentine's security system that uses biometrics does not allow Merlin to hack in. And again, Eggsy is confronted by Valentine's henchmen, but suddenly he thinks of an idea that can save them by activating an implanted chip similar like Arthur before. Accidentally, he meets the Scandinavian princess who asks him to release her, but that is stalled because Valentine's main mission is almost ready. Roxy calls Eggsy's mother to lock her daughter in the bathroom as what Eggsy has requested, and the activation is carried out where everyone here begins to turn into anarchists and attack each other. Eggsy, who has returned inside Valentine's place, is now again confronted by Valentine's personal assistant that directly attacks him with her iron legs. There was a tense fight between him and her. Eggsy eventually wins the fight by stabbing her using a poisoned knife that was at the end of his shoe. Then takes one of her iron legs and throws it right at Valentine. Afterwards, Eggsy returns to the princess for having fun. At the end of the movie, Eggsy is heading to his favorite coffee shop to meet his mother, who is with his stepfather, and he invites her to live with him because he has gotten a job with a great salary. But his stepfather forbids him and forces him to teach them all there. Manners maketh man. We can have all the knowledge in the world, but it means nothing without the wisdom to put it to good use. Unlike Valentine, who wants to destroy the world, his knowledge should be used to help people instead. As a reference to Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibilities. What would you do if you were in Valentine's position? Let us know what you think in the comment below. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.